Says we're live. I never believe it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the probably waning days of your absolute favorite online broadcast, pandemic broadcast, Grace Under Pressure. I say waning days because we are all tired and probably won't keep doing these much longer. I start grad school tomorrow, and I understand that the wonderful Ashaxe is going to take a Zoom break for the month of July, and I applaud your resolve in that matter. So congratulations on that. But if we do continue these, it'll likely be after a break. So this week we are interviewing my wonderful dear friend, Viscountess Oonagh of the West, and next week we will be interviewing Her Majesty Madalena of the Midrealm, and so I'm very excited about that as well. And I guess on to introductions. Would you like to introduce me, Ashaxe, and then I'll introduce you?
Yes. Welcome, Dagmar, Viscountess of Oonagh in the West and Duchess of Ontario. Also Laurel and all around badass.
Badass.
That's the script. Also,
yeah.
My kind, caring,
sweet,
witted, always can make me laugh friend.
Generous, kind.
Generous, yes. I didn't say sweet.
Nope.
Humble.
Everyone would know if you said sweet that it was a lie. So and welcome this evening to filling in for Sir Joel, who graciously bowed out when Ashaxe found out that it was Oonagh that we were interviewing, and we love our Oonagh, so she is stepping in this week. And Ashaxe is one of two brains behind the Sisters Interview Network, and on which we are graciously hosted, and is a Laurel and lives in Ontario and is a fabulous human being. We would also like, as we do every week, to thank the Sisters Interview Network for hosting us. Without the work that you do, we wouldn't have an audience, and the information that we get to share in these interviews would not be in people's brains right now. So thank you so much for that. Ashaxe, would you like to introduce our guest?
I would.
Yay.
I need to make the script a little bit wider, sorry, so that I can read it all. Viscountess Oonagh reigned in the Principality of the Mists in 2006 and was recognized as a Laurel in the West in 2014. Yay! How long have you been playing in the SCA?
Oh, goodness. Maybe about 25 years. I think that's how long.
That's a nice number. So how did you find it?
I had a friend who was doing it and invited me to come to an event, and I came and met all the friends, and everybody welcomed me. And I was, at that time I was working in law enforcement, so I could only go like 4 times a year was the max I could go because I worked on weekends. But I would go to events. My first was a Crown event, which of course, you know, what is this? And I fell in love, and I've been coming ever since.
What about your early SCA days? Do you remember, were you part of a household? Did you get dumped headlong into retinue work? What was that like for you?
Because I didn't get to go very often, I wasn't in any household yet. There was some people that I knew that I would camp with. And then eventually I met up with Mocketeer. I'm not quite sure how I met up with them. Now I'm trying to think about that. But and so I started camping with them, and I became friends with a lot of people there. And so we did a lot of things mundanely. I also, when I first joined, I became friends with the Bellatrix families. They welcomed me in and were very kind to me. And so I just had a lot of places bringing me in. I didn't have any actual like affiliation for a very long time. And then it wasn't until, I don't know, it was, I think it was after Helgi and I started dating that I started doing like court work, because somebody finally asked me to join court. I thought that that's how that worked. So I never went. So anybody who's listening and thought to themselves, I just have to wait for somebody to ask me to do it. No, go and ask yourself if you really want to do it. The courts always need extra help. So there's that. And that's one of the lessons I always try to share with people. But and then when I started doing that, I started meeting more people and just getting more and more involved. So that's kind of how that went.
And then you reigned in 2006-ish. You were made a Viscountess in 2006 at any rate.
Yes.
So of course the Mists has been a principality since the late 60s. And I realized you haven't reigned in other principalities, but reigning in one of the oldest, longest running principality has to have been an unusual experience.
It definitely was. When initially it was just learning about the history and becoming more involved in the principality and in the kingdom. But it was very apparent when we went to Penzik, and people would look at me, and they'd look at my hat, and they'd look at me, and they'd look at my hat, and they'd say, "Your Royal Highness." They didn't know what I was, because there are some kingdoms that don't have principalities. And that's when I learned about that. I thought everybody had, a principality and everything. So that was really fun. And having to explain it and just being sort of a unicorn was really fun.
Yes. I mean, I get that. When I was Princess of Oonagh and it was outside of the kingdom, people thought I was a pelican because the hats have swans on them. And I thought that was kind of funny too. I'm like, no, that's a peerage they're probably not ever going to offer me. I think it's safe to say, like, super unlikely that I will meet the attitude criteria for that particular order. So just saying.
I don't know. I think you're pretty generous.
So, and then you were recognized as a laurel in 2014.
I was.
So, and it sounds like your path was a lot like mine, which was art. What? You want to do what? You want to make me a what? So, yeah.
Very much so. I was offered, and I had been running scriptorium, and I was doing a lot of painting, and I thought that that's what I was being offered for, and that's not what I was being offered for. It was for costuming and research and exploring new things. So
Wonderful.
Yeah. So that was kind of a surprise, because I think of clothes as just a necessity, something pretty, but I wasn't necessarily thinking I'm gonna make this the best thing I ever do, which I mean, I do that with everything, but you know what I mean? Like that, I was really investing a lot of that, what I thought was art focus on painting. So, yeah. I thought, oh, I'm not ready. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah. It's so commonly the case that people say that, that they're like, oh, I mean, I guess I'm ready, but that the imposter syndrome can be pretty, pretty high. And it's probably in part because it's not data driven necessarily. There can be some subjectivity involved in someone's readiness to be a laurel, right?
Exactly.
So it's harder than like, oh, I won some tournaments, or I can fight as well as, or I can show a resume that makes it more clear.
I taught classes. What's the measurable there?
Right.
Exactly. I work in measurables mundanely, so.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, that can be tough.
Were you apprenticed to somebody, or were you
no
ranger?
I was a free ranger. Again, another surprise there. So nobody was saying, so why don't you work on this, or why don't you meet these people, or I didn't have that relationship. I just was a butterfly, and I went around to everybody.
Yeah.
But you did have people that knew you very well that were also laurels.
That's true.
I mean, in the West, it's hard not to.
You kind of, yeah.
Something unkind about a dead cat and swinging it,
Yes,
unkind. But it can be also intimidating because like people, so there's so many accomplished people. So that's the other thing, is that it can be really tough to know where you are on your path when
yeah.
you are so talented and accomplished.
I think in my case, because I just was friends with people and I wasn't trying to seek out that relationship. That wasn't what my path to that achievement was. So it was just me hanging out with my friends and sharing what I'd learned and bouncing ideas back and forth, but not specifically, again, like what should I be working on next or that kind of thing. It was just, like I said, that was like my secondary thing. So that's not where I was focusing my attention.
Yeah.
What's your primary thing?
Well, I say primary, but it was painting and calligraphy. So
why don't we look at some while
Okay.
instead of just talking about it, because it's super amazing. All right. So let's talk about this little gem.
This was my second peerage scroll, and this is for Sir Artos, and it was a collaboration between myself and Alishka and Advar. It's on vellum. It's the first time that I used egg tempera, and first time I worked on vellum. So I really felt like I was immersing myself into the medieval mind, and just it was very exciting. I loved the collaboration. Alishka has an amazing hand, and then as you can see there, Advar drew. He took a scene from I call it the Mike Wazowski Bible, but
how big is this piece? The total finished size?
So average. Sorry, that's like 24 by maybe 18 or. It's I was excited because Artos was down in another kingdom, so I was doing a sneak project for him, and then I was able to put in his knight and his squire brothers and people like that in the drawing. So
did somebody use donate real blood?
Yes, that's what pooled down at the bottom. Yes, those are all the kings that are dead.
Yeah,
dead as his feet. We had a teenager or a preteen that was attending Scribble at the time, and she kept referring to it as spaghetti. So there's a lot of spaghetti on there.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to get to the next slide. There we go.
Isn't he adorable?
Oh gosh, the detail is astounding.
I just love that guy. So I really liked, this was my very first peerage scroll, and I enjoyed the whole studying the process and finding the pieces that wove into it. Little pieces like the little grenade that's next to it was part of his fighter group, and there was a perfect spot to put it there. And then the little birds that I mentioned earlier are about the size of a grain of rice, and teeny tiny. So I had to use a magnifying glass and paint them. And Obadiah is the one who did the calligraphy on this one. So it was nice to do that collaboration too.
Yeah. Yeah. This is beautiful. So this is a patent of arms, obviously.
No, yes, I'm sorry. It is a patent of arms.
It's a different scroll.
Isn't that his Smiting scroll? Hold on, I'm trying to read it now. Yeah.
So we went from this one, and then
so he's a knight. So he got elevated to knight in this. So to the rank of knight.
Right. And then this is for Cathan.
Yeah, for Cathan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also a chivalry scroll.
Yes, it is. And of course, those are all the things that knights do. You fight in a war. You ride around on a horse with no hands, and you drink a lot of booze while you're hanging out with women, right?
Yes, it's really good.
These are the requirements.
I think so.
These are the requirements. Wait, so it doesn't say anything on here though about Where's the chess playing and the dance?
That's in the other scene. You can't see it. It's there. It's in
Okay,
the background.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. It's behind the partition in the
Yes.
room.
Yeah.
Is where all the chess is happening. Okay.
And right before COVID, I was making this dress remotely while I was packing up my house. This was the very last thing that I sewed before we packed everything in my house last March. And so I was hand sewing everything. There are a total of 38 eyelets that run down the front of that coat hardy. So that's one set. And I just made a bunch of dresses for her so that she could go to Estrella and be comfortable. And you don't get to see her modeling it because I didn't get to see her for a long time after that.
Yeah. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, well, I would say if you're doing any sort of sewing, my little thing that I tell people is hand sewing is the thing that makes it look just that much better. So, I mean, I used to sew everything with a sewing machine, but now anything that I can hand sew, like I always finish the seams on the inside of sleeves. Well, the whole thing I usually do these days, but in the old days it was just the cuffs and the bottom seam. But this is, everything is tacked down so that there's no fraying edges or anything anywhere. It's essentially bulletproof. And that's what this will do. If you hand sew stuff like that, you're going to bulletproof it. So
who's that?
I don't know. That's one of the Flemish dresses that I made, and most everything that you see there is all hand sewn as well. So there was no machining in the hat, and hand sewed the ruffles and on the neck, and I love that dress because it's very, very comfortable. Mm-hmm. So I do recommend Flemish for anybody who is looking for comfort and style.
Yes.
I love the ruffle on that.
Mm-hmm. That's nice.
This I did not make. This was my stepping down gown, but I thought it was a lovely dress that I wanted to show off just because the people that helped make it made me feel extra special. So it's a lovely Italian, and Helgi has a matching one, obviously.
Matching dress. Yes,
a matching dress. Mm-hmm. It is actually kind of dress-like. It's a shorter version of the dress.
Yeah. Looks great.
And again, a dress somebody else made for me, but you asked for pictures from me. So
yep.
There you go.
And this is from the actual reign then?
Yeah, so that was in 2006. And more.
Did Helgi eat a lot of beans?
Did he eat a lot of beans? Why do you say that?
He has I ate a lot of beans face.
I think he's looking, stoic and firm, perhaps.
Right. So yeah, beans.
Either that or somebody was eating beans around him.
Oh, that's a possibility. Is this your band? This is your band cover? Your album
yes, it
cover?
is. Yeah. So this is what happens when you're getting in your car and you've completely packed up camp, and they say, "Oh, the king and queen want you in camp or in court." So we threw on our cloaks and ran there. But I love the heraldry, and so I included that too. So.
Yep.
And this is when my good friend Dagmar sent me roses when we stepped up. So that was an amazing gift that I still remember, and it was very generous. A dozen roses.
Weird.
It was a surprise.
That's nice. That's nice that somebody did that for you.
Yeah.
You look good in blue.
Thank you.
This is adorable.
This is the day I got offered.
Happy.
So that was before I got offered.
This is, I mean, it's also
and then everything changed.
This is before the weight of the world was on me.
Right?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that Helgi's not on the internet very much.
No, he's not at all.
It would be more fun if I knew he was watching right now, but maybe you can show it to him later. So when we say silly, not truly unkind things about him, he can make that face again.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
Or at the very least, you should have him read the comments, because
What's your primary thing?
Well, I say primary, but it was painting and calligraphy. So.
Oops.
video.
Why don't we look at?
Nightmare, was that you?
I don't know what just happened. When I
it feels like deja vu.
When I turned off the share screen, I must have clicked on the playback and it started playing back, and I got really confused. I'm like, who's talking to me? I don't understand this. Really funny.
A little deja vu.
That was weird. Sorry about that. Now, okay, now we're better. This is why I need a technician. I think it's not good for me to be my own tech support here. So anyway.
I have similar many times. So
oh my gosh. So what would you go back and tell pre-rain you about raining?
I would say make sure you have a good partner, because that's it. That's 7.5 months as the Prince and Princess of the Mist, from when you first win the tournament until you step down. So there's when you're the Lady of the Mist. So having a good partner who you're going to share responsibilities with, not just say you could do it all or they do it all. I think that you have to make a decision about that. Also having a really good infrastructure around you. So establishing friends and just knowing that you've got what you need to be able to do it. I would say I was lucky that because I got to work on a lot of in a lot of courts, and then I was also head of court, so I had a very good idea of what it was like. Because there's a lot of times people think that it's all just the fun stuff, but there's a lot of work that goes on in the backyard in the background, and
sometimes in the backyard too.
That is true. And we did a lot of studying in between events. So we went to an event every weekend, and we made sure that we knew who was going to be at the event. Researching does anybody deserve any awards that we can facilitate, that sort of thing, and really made ourselves as present as possible. And I think ultimately it's a huge commitment. It probably took me like about a year to catch back up on personal stuff, but that was because I chose to commit that much. So I loved the principality, I loved the kingdom, and people had been so generous to me. I felt a need to give back, and so that's I think that just having a good partner and the good infrastructure, the set of folks that are willing to help you before you dive into that. Don't do it blindly. You need to have a plan, I think.
Yeah.
So,
and you had a household backing you up.
Yeah, we had
at least not getting in your way too much, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of people that were very helpful. So
yeah.
It was lots of generosity around us, which has made us continue with that generosity too. So we look for opportunities to help out other people in whatever way possible.
Who are some of the people who supported your reign?
Well, all of the Argent Angels. I would say they mostly supported Helgi. I'm sure that if all the pictures are of him and them. So, but they were awesome and very sweet. I would say that Villa Luna was very helpful to us. We had a lot of help from just so many different places. Honestly, it really was overwhelming sometimes, the amount of generosity. We felt like we didn't necessarily deserve it. And so it took a while to be able to graciously accept it and recognize that we would be doing the same thing for people. And so stop trying to push back on people. And so that so many people were involved there. I mean, I could go on a huge list if you'd like, but
we just like to acknowledge that it takes a lot of people, and that, you know, a lot of people compare reigning to a theater production, you know, and that the king and queen may be the ingenues, but the all of the production and
All
everything.
the people in the background are the ones that are the hard workers. And that's one of the things that I worked on, is trying to get it so that the court was recognized. We recognize the guard. They achieve an award for being able to, you know, for being a participant and for supporting us. And the court usually doesn't get any sort of recognition. So I in every way, an opportunity that I had, I recognize the court, and I try to make it so that people recognize the court today, that it's not just a bunch of people doing. There's in a lot of ways the hardest workers. So they're constantly there, being quiet, you know, running errands and stuff, and a lot of people don't realize it. So the silent ones.
Yes. You hope they're the silent ones.
Yeah.
There's always a few. You're like, what are you guys doing back there? So
Shh. Stop drinking. Stop drinking our gifts. No. I might have been one of those court members doing that at a pretty long court.
Yeah, you get that.
So one of the questions that we like to ask is, what is your favorite piece of advice to give at vigils? And let's actually rewind a little bit. Did you have a vigil for your when you were offered, or did you just get elevated?
I just got elevated, so I didn't do that.
Is that
for
what
a
you
lot
wanted?
Yeah, that's what I wanted, and it ended up being what I needed. But I chose to seek counsel from people privately. I don't like a lot of focused attention on me, and so I felt like that was not the way that I wanted to hear what people had to say. So I've sought people out and gained it that way. And then back to the original question, which is what's my favorite advice, is to remember that you're always a student. This doesn't mean that you are the master. And if you think that you are, then you should probably do a little bit more studying. But honestly, there's so much to learn. There's so many opportunities there, and it's not the end of that's not the end of the journey. There's so much more ahead, and whether you're teaching, even in teaching, there's opportunities to learn. So to me, I feel like being a lifelong student is what makes a master.
Absolutely.
And I think my observation, I don't mind calling out my fellow peers with this, is that the people who think of themselves as having mastered things are the ones that are most likely to feel threatened by people that are coming up after them. And because their expertise can't be toppled. And that's super counterproductive. And, you know, you may as well at that point just kiss the SCA goodbye, because, you know, that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
But also, you know, we were all young and new in our path at some point in time, and
we always start from the beginning. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
So some people excel in the beginning, but we all start from the beginning. Don't be hypercritical. You know, that's not how you develop somebody. And I think that ultimately, the more people that we can develop into being artists and scientists, and it's arts and sciences, right? And into the chivalry, then it makes our experience that much more rich and beautiful, and to push back on somebody because they're enthusiastic or potentially threatening you and your standing diminishes or takes away from that. So
right. And I think the problem, of course, is that the people for whom that's an issue are not necessarily the ones who need to or will hear that.
Yeah, they think it's everybody else.
Right.
Agreed.
So since the three of us don't think we're those people, that means we're those people, right?
Well, I am a mistress now, so.
Right. Oh, no. I have to say, in fact, the imposter syndrome for me has never gone away. I'm just always been like, I'm not sure why I'm a Laurel, but I'll just be noisy at meetings when things need to be said that are important, and try and not get in the way of people who want to be peers who are really talented and dedicated. So that's
Yes.
kind of been my approach to it. So, and I don't like to go to vigils, so I don't even know how I would answer our own question,
Yeah, I don't always go to a vigil just because there's 9 million people in line. And so I will try to seek somebody out privately. That's often more how I have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah,
I do the
agree.
same.
Or go in as a group.
I don't
Yeah,
take
exactly.
crowds, so
Yeah.
for me.
I mean, also, Dawn, you'd have to be up at night to go to vigils usually.
What you don't understand is I'm actually up all night.
Now, oh yeah, you're up all night, right? But you're not out
No.
away from camp, especially when your kids are younger. It's like the vigil really should just come to dawn or a shaxi. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of being a peer, since you have this dual role as a royal peer and also as a Laurel, I love to hear how the people see their role as a peer and how they use their privilege in the SCA to affect positive change.
Well, okay, so I right now am I'm a co-guild minister for the Scribal Guild of the West. We've got a long name, the West Kingdom Company of Scriveners and Limners. It's too long, but we are right now in the midst of rebuilding our program and building a. So my idea is that we have an opportunity to teach people and to include people, to welcome people into a group that hasn't always been perceived as welcoming. And we have an opportunity to make people feel included. And so we are going to take a hold of that. And having COVID with happen and things like this right here, to be honest, I don't watch a lot of anything on Zoom just because it's not my thing that I do. But the opportunity to be able to have to teach people and talk to people outside of our local group, especially when with Scribal stuff, because Scribal tends to be like, I pack up my whole stuff and that takes me, half an hour or so to pack up everything and make it all neat so it doesn't spill, take it to somebody else's house, unpack it. We hang out for a couple hours, I pack it back up, and then we go back home, and it's disruptive. And it's good to have the experience together. So with Zoom and the virtual world opening up to us, we've decided that we're going to leverage that. And we already know that there are Scrabble groups that are inviting folks from all over the world, and we're excited about that. And we're trying to make sure that everybody feels included in that, and that there is no, that we're 100% about inclusivity, and there is no exclusivity in our group specifically.
Yeah.
So we've in one of the things that we're doing, we decided not to have members, because that suggests that there are some of us and some of you. So in doing that, we're just saying, come and be with us, and we will share everything that we can, but we're not going to say us is you. It's not again, it's not us and them.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah. Well, and I think about all the different things, we've talked a lot in recent interviews about economic disparities and how people, the actual literal cost of participation in the SCA, whether you agree or not in why this has happened or what the stressors are, it is more expensive than it had been decades ago to just to participate. And I'm not talking about site fees, I'm talking about everything else.
Exactly. Yeah.
gas and food and getting time off, and people's economic position shrinking instead of expanding as they've gotten older, which also happens. And so it seems to me that Scribble is one of those areas where you don't have to have a high cost of entry. You can,
Exactly.
you really can do it without spending. You don't need real gold leaf. And even if you do, you're not going to use a lot of it. So work with as a collaboration with people who have the resources. And yeah.
Exactly. And one of the things that we are building into the program are beginner kits. So you don't have to have a financial investment to start with, and you can decide if you like it or not.
Right.
So that's one of the things. And one of the other things that we're building into our program is how scribal arts and other arts are related. So it's not just a scribal group. We want to say, okay, so there's silk banner painting and shield painting and all these other things that go on around us that either influence or we influence, and how are we related. So again, we are the Scribal Guild, but we're not, just we want to welcome other groups in.
Shouldn't you call yourself the Scribal Guild?
There you go. Yes.
Not the Scribal Guild. Not guilt with a U, guilt with an. Okay, never mind. It's a dumb joke.
It's a dumb joke, but we laughed at it. So there you go.
Scribal guilt is the fact that pretty much every time I talk with Alishka, I mention that I don't have any scrolls from the West Kingdom. And she's like, yeah.
Okay, so hey, to get a scroll, one must interact with a scribe, and because we don't have the college anymore, so that's one of the things that we got rid of, and because essentially the college was a great idea, and but unfortunately the way it was being run is that we were handing over a checkbook to royalty with no money in the bank. Yeah. And so they were writing all these checks, and they didn't realize how much work and effort and time was involved. And then as people's skills were getting better, there was really only about 10 to 12 active scribes in the kingdom that were supposed to be dealing with a backlog that had thousands of people. Yeah. So, yeah. So
Frontier has gone through the same thing, and I am kidding. I do understand, I am a Duchess. I understand the pressures that this can put people under, and, especially when you have we would have things where it was a little bit last minute, where we were giving something out that normally would have a beautiful scroll that would accompany it. And boom, you've automatically added to that pile.
Exactly.
Just in that moment, you've added to that pile, right? For the kingdom.
Yes. However, if you are interested in your scrolls, you can reach out to me directly, and I will help you. I will help facilitate a relationship with somebody.
That is not the reason I asked you to be interviewed on this series, but if I was craftier, that would have been a pretty neat trick. Yeah. but I
for the scroll.
I know. I mean, whatever. But the point is this art, often scribal, is something that goes into someone's house and is never seen again.
That's the other thing too.
Yeah, and I've been talking and thinking a lot about unpaid labor in the SCA, and how much of it is borne by women, and how often women are the driving force behind doing these things that are incredibly time intensive, require a high level of skill, and for which they don't receive compensation. They might receive recognition, but the recognition often comes with new responsibilities that are further under-recognized, because now it's part of the job. Exactly. Like as a peer, oh, well, it's part of your obligation. And, I came, when I was in the West, I had lots of friends who were knights as well as pelicans and laurels, and who did service. But that's not true in every kingdom, is what we're learning, is that there's lots of places where we don't have the same expectation of service of all peers, and we disproportionately put that that expectation of labor on women in the society. So
I would agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I should talk about all the amazing things that on-tier scribes have been doing during the pandemic.
well, you have a front seat to everybody who talks about that stuff, so please do.
One of the things they've been doing is they've been doing 48-hour challenges to clear the backlog, where they publicize it and they get all the scribes in the kingdom hooked up with a backlogged person, and they do a scroll to that person's request, and they make it into a competition, and then they post everything on the kingdom's site, so that you get that competition, you get that involvement, and you get that recognition, and that publicity, whatever, of
Public recognition and
Public
community.
publicity, I think, is already a word.
Yes, yes, that's it.
publication. I don't know.
Public acknowledgement of your effort is.
Yeah, and everybody gets to see your work, and it gets really put out there. And Renard has worked really hard on a website of past scrolls, so that all of the scribal work and the history is all on display. So
the other thing that
That's very cool.
been thinking about is trying to get a kingdom seal that can be used on non-scrolls, so scroll-like objects, because currently they don't get kingdom seals on them.
Yes, and
so
some
we don't have any way to do that.
come on, it's Dagmar and Ashaksi.
yay!
And the rest of the world, like
And the
a
rest
lot
of
of
the
your
world.
friends.
And the rest of the
see
world.
your-
Yes,
Oh.
this is a video camera.
Oh, cool. Well, I was out fencing,
making a fence or hitting people with.
Making
putting up a fence.
Okay, all right. Bye.
We have chickens now, and they like to go over to the horse ranch across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Helgi's getting some love in the comments right now, by the way.
Oh, he's gone.
That's right. They know where to find him. He's out
Yes.
building a fence.
That was true. He was. He
That's
thinks
great.
he's hilarious because he said he was fencing. So, you know.
I appreciate the work that you're doing. I think and the work that the on-tier scribes are doing. Scribal is just one of those things people take for granted a lot, and it's hard. It takes a long time to master it. It can be a lonely art. Though some
Exactly,
people probably like it
which
that
is
way.
that's why I think that COVID has given us a gift in this. Hang on, just shoot, he's banging away in the other room. Okay, so
Okay.
So COVID has given us a gift in the virtual, opening up the virtual door. That if I had suggested, hey, let's have some Zoom meetings, or whatever, Skype was what people did before. People would have been like, no, I don't think we should, or that's not how we do it. And now, it in that way, it's been a gift, and I think that we'll continue to use this opportunity to engage more people. So our intention is, we're here for the West. But if there are other people that we can learn from, that's what we're looking for, or other people that we can teach, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And also you might uncover some talent that people didn't even know they had. And
Well, exactly.
that's very cool when that happens, when somebody like shows up at, this is always up here. We do charters. Do you guys do the charter system there? I can't recall if you.
We were, and we hope to employ it going forward.
Okay.
But
So we have charters, and sometimes you hand someone a charter and it's like, let's see what comes back. You have no idea
yeah,
what
exactly.
they're going to do, how they're going to do it. And you're like, okay, it's a really nice photocopy. That is that's the only risk here, is that
Exactly.
it might not be good, but they get to go and do this. And sometimes, I mean, it's almost always good. And it's sometimes excellent. And you're like, I had no idea this person could do this. This is really
And the sense of
cool.
accomplishment and contribution and community that it helps bring out in that person, it opens up doors. So and with the Scribble community, there's a lot of people who, like you mentioned, do things alone, and we want to try to make it so that those people don't have to be so reclusive.
Right. And it's inherently collaborative. It's really unusual that scrolls are done completely by one person,
Yeah,
without any other involvement.
And we would like to also say that that Scribble artists are fine artists, and they're not just making scrolls. That is a product that we would produce for somebody, but that's not necessarily our art. And there are so many facets to the art that we do, and we want to share that with people, that it's not just cranking out scrolls, which it starts making it so nobody wants to do it.
Right.
Let's have fun. We want to have fun.
I love it. Let's see, where are we? If you could create a award that does not exist, and there's no downside to creating it, you won't have to suffer any political damage. You don't have to worry about getting it passed. Like, none of that is a barrier. What award would you most like to see?
I actually already created it, but it didn't get carried out because I didn't understand that. I thought once we introduced it, it would just be there, but I had to do a bunch of follow through, which is to recognize the court as an actual. So the Court of the Mist is what I created, like the Guard of the Mist, and to recognize those folks that for their contribution, that it's not just a lot of times the court or the retinue is completely invisible. There you might maybe see a list of their names somewhere, and then but that's the end of that. And I felt like that was necessary to recognize them beyond it. And I've had some of the royalty reach out to me after the fact, but like I said, I may start a campaign again.
Yeah.
And try to.
I love it because it's also useful later. It helps you kind of, like, currently you might have like, lovely. Is that what he was banging on?
Yes, he's making me a tiki drink.
Nice. That's the best reason to have noise on the broadcast.
I didn't know if he was going to bring it in here.
Currently, like, if you go back and look through someone's OP listing, you'll see in the West, you'll see Queen ciphers, or you might see princesses tokens and things like that. But exactly. You don't, I know what you're talking about, that you don't always have a specific list of how many reigns they served on. And we had a similar issue. We created the Bountiful Hand because we had a similar issue. The Bountiful Hand is, we created
Bountiful Hand. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna write that down.
We created that for people who just made stuff, because often it was the same, where they might get the equivalent of a token here, but there wasn't any way to know that it was because of what they were creating.
Exactly.
And so it was a way to, so if somebody donated largesse, or they finished seams on some royal, garments or whatever. So, and plus, because we have, like the West, we have an active moneyers guild here. We had a coin struck.
Oh, nice.
With the symbol on it, because we're like, we already have like this amazing institution that can make these awards, and they can be unique to each reign that way, because one side will have their reign information and then the Bountiful Hand on the other side. So I think, we're always trying to figure out like how to reduce those kind of disparities of recognition based on the type of service people are doing.
Yeah, because right now you get called up, you were in the court, and they call you up, and they thank you. We want to thank you for your service and excuse you, and goodbye. Yeah. So I like yours too. That's super nice. I'm gonna see if we've got something like that.
Yes, it's yours. Take it.
So in 25 years, you have gone to a lot of events.
Yes, ma'am.
What is your favorite regular event to attend?
Favorite regular event? I think I like crowns the most, not because I get to see the most people. Is really I like the community I like being able to see my friends. I like to be able to share that time and the experience with them. And so I think that that's the reason why I like crowns so much. I obviously like smaller events too, because that allows the opportunity for a little bit more one-on-one time. Because sometimes I feel like I saw you at an event and I thought we were going to hang out, but we just didn't get a chance to. So there's the catch-22 there. But I think crown is definitely my favorite.
Awesome. Do you have an event that's on your bucket list, something that you've never been to that you'd like to go to?
I would like to go to Gulf Wars. I hear a lot of people talking about it and how fun it is, but and I had considered going last year, but you know, something happened. So the world ended as we knew it briefly. So we'll see, maybe next year. We honestly, we purchased a mobile home. I say that it's a van, it's just a little camper van. And we were going to travel around. I have the opportunity to work I work remotely. So we thought we would be able to go around and see national parks and go to events and see all of our friends on the other side of the world and up in Canada or what, you know, wherever. But and that sort of, you know, like stopped.
I'm glad
So
you
many
have
things.
that, because you, since you guys bought your dream property there in the West, it probably means you're not going to be part of the Ontario retirement plan where people come up here and retire in Ontario. So you'll have to have a way to travel up here and
Exactly.
visit all of your other friends who are going to retire up here.
And my other friends that are retired already / going to school, I don't know what.
Yeah, whatever that is. Well, maybe you guys could come up for Sport of Kings some year in Ontario.
Okay.
And do that event. It's a lot of fun. I think you'd really enjoy it.
When does that happen?
It's every other year, and it's
Every other year. Okay.
It's in August when it happens. So
Okay.
It's around the 20th of August that weekend. And I think that they have, it was supposed to be this year, and they are looking at maybe having it next year. And if not next year, they'll have to skip to the following.
Yeah. It's a really cool event, and there's no meetings.
What?
None.
Sign me up.
There are no meetings. It's glorious. And if you come from out of town, you can buy into the big kitchen and don't even have to bring your own anything. Yeah, it's really nice. But it's also the fact that there's no meetings is very appealing to me. And I know, you know, once you've reigned, I think you gain, or you've served on tons of retinues, which all three of us have. You gain an appreciation for those types of events where you really do get to have choice over how you spend your time. You know, you get to kind of structure your time for yourself and do what you want to do. I mean, such as we can as parents or grandparents, or, you know, all of those obligations too. But I have, you know, I can't remember what it was like to not have those responsibilities. And, you know, I'm not saying that like poor me, because lots of people would love to have what comes along with those responsibilities. And, but
there's a lot of things that I mean, I talked about how I try to find ways to give back, and you're right. With the titles comes responsibility, and every once in a while, it's just like I'm a little bit tired right now. I didn't sleep very well, or you know, whatever it might be, that it's just silly. And then I have to make myself say, okay, there's other people that are looking forward to participating, and that's what my contribution is. And so I do it, and I'm not suggesting that that happens all the time, but every once in a while, you're just, if you've traveled really far, then you know, there's just it's nice to just sit down and hang out with your friends sometimes.
It is. I do worry sometimes that I think, going back to the unpaid labor piece, that sometimes we set up expectations that if someone exercises good boundaries, that they're not doing what's in the best interest of the SCA. And
Oh,
we reward people for having very poor boundaries around their time.
that is true.
And, you know, and we, we mistake that for a commitment instead of saying, wow, this is a person who's really good at knowing when their plate is full and how much they should take on, and who, you know, understand timelines really well, or who also just understand that this isn't something that's going to be healthy for them to be involved in.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't feel like we have conversations about that. We're just like, oh, this person doesn't manage their time well. I'm like, well, wait a second here. Like, you know, what is really going on here? Part of it is a system where we are demanding of something, and continuously critical of people for not doing something that fits something that's not well defined in the first place. You know, it's like, well, I know it when I see it type of attitude about, you know, whether or not someone's doing enough or being enough, or
and I am not of that tribe. For example, as head of court, I used to tell people, you cannot take care of any of this if you haven't taken care of yourself first. You need to eat, you need to drink, you need to use the restroom before you come here, and be your best self while you're here. If you are hungry and have a low blood sugar incident, you know, some people don't even realize that they've got a sugar imbalance that day. I've had it happen to me, and I'm not diabetic or anything like that, but suddenly you're like, oh, it's an extra hot day, and I haven't drank enough, I didn't realize, and I didn't eat enough, and now people have to take care of me instead of what I wanted to do was to be here for people. And I also said, sorry, I also when somebody was on stage or on walkabout with the royalty, I would always say, you're on a 20-minute schedule, and then you replace people, except for the walkabouts. It was usually a little bit longer, but 20 minutes is a really long time standing behind the thrones. It's a long time to stand for some people, but it's also a good time to just see what's going on, experience the pageantry, and being part of that, the machine that supports the royalty without taking away from it. And it gives everybody else the opportunity who wants to do that, because not everybody does, to stand with the royalty. Some people just want to help in the background, and I was a stickler about that. So
it's a great filter to run things through, and it's important for people to understand that you should not conflate service with sacrifice, and sacrificing for the SCA is foolish. It's not required, but also we as peers can do a better job in how we talk about other people, in modeling those attributes that we think show that someone has healthy boundaries. So instead of saying, oh, this person stood countless hours, as a guard, or they did, they sat for 36 hours at gate over the course of this. It's like, no, that is troubling. And they may have needed to do that, but that's a systemic ill, not something like, yes, they did it, but I'm sorry if somebody expected, like if I was the only person doing gate for 36 hours, I'd be like, this is broken. Do not make me sit here for 36 hours. This is ridiculous. Like, someone in that position, I want them to feel empowered to say this is not okay, not to just do it because there's nobody else around.
Exactly.
I think at the point that you haven't staffed your gate, you don't get to take any more money. Like, oh, well, your gate's closed now,
Yeah.
Yeah, too bad. Nobody should.
No one should. Your gate people should not be sitting there thinking, I have to go to the bathroom now, or I'm hungry, or none of that should be happening. No matter what, we're using gate as our example here, but that should not be the thing that's
people
happening.
Sometimes get abandoned there.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but we do talk about it that way, though.
Yeah, as leadership, you have to identify a plan and a schedule for people to follow, and it doesn't have, you don't have to. So you don't have to be the leader who's then doing everything to make it so everybody's doing it. That's the opposite of what you're talking about. That's the opposite of the way that I work. It's about, you come up with a schedule that everybody agrees to, and you perhaps name a few people to help out. Like, will you make sure that such and such is able to get relieved at this time or whatever? And it just doesn't make sense to sacrifice your health, because it's many layers of health that get involved in that, mental and physical.
One of the things that I like to do, and I would encourage other people to do, is it's a really huge service to check in on the retinue behind the thrones and just say, hey, do you guys need anything? Can I get you some water?
Yeah.
You know, or gate, just to kind of, you know, I'm eternally mothering everybody. Dagmar loves this about me. And
No,
it's super helpful, but it's not a commitment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it is, people, you know, appreciate it and will remember it. And maybe the person that was supposed to relieve them got distracted, had some other issue. Maybe they're a fighter and they've been called to go do some rose fighting, or you know, their kid suddenly is sick, and you know, they don't have anybody to say, hey, can you go tell them, and you know, find a backup for it. So yeah, checking in with people is a great thing, and I love doing that too.
I think so. And I think one of the things we can use, and I know, Dawn, I've seen you do this in action for sure, is use your rank and position to escalate things when they need to be. And that it's something I think is very important. You know, if I go and if someone's upset and they're like, yeah, I've been sitting here for like 8 hours and I really need to have my shift done, and they feel comfortable enough to tell me that, the least I can do is escalate that information to the right person, or find someone who's like, you know, oh, you know, that shouldn't be happening. I'm like, you're right, that shouldn't be happening. So what do we need to do here? You know, this person really needs something. So, you know, I think that we can check in with people and say, do you need anything? Do you need problems addressed that I'm
that I can help with?
Yeah. So,
yeah.
And that is also a really good way to use privilege in the SCA, you know.
Agreed.
Yeah. So.
My screen just faded.
We're coming up on an hour, and I know
okay.
Ashaksi and I have a peerage meeting at 7, so we aren't going to meander into hour 2 of this interview too far. I did want to mention that you should go back and watch it, because you have some lovely friends who are heckling very sweetly. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen Kelly quite this nice. So is there something you're not telling us? Like,
oh,
you're not sick, or we just lost Oonagh.
She's like, I'm out. I don't want your gift basket.
I don't want your pity, Torfin. All right, well, hopefully she'll sign back in, and we can finish the process of giving her a virtual gift basket, or she's lost her internet connection, in which case maybe somebody, I'm thinking Duchess Karen, who's in the comments, might like to throw down a quick limerick or haiku in Oonagh's honor that I can read online. So if you're seeing this, Karen, and you want to generate a sweet little verse, she says her nickname is Carolyn Copperfield. Oh yes, for disappearing at parties, but that isn't exactly what happened here. So we'll see if she signs in again. Oh, Karen says, way to put me on the spot.
I'd like to hear a Kelly limerick. That would be fun.
Yeah, I don't know if he's able to do that without a handler of some kind. Kelly, are you being properly supervised right now? Do you have someone who can help you? All right. Well, I think she may have just lost her internet connection. Was she back? Okay.
There she is. Oh, she's gone again.
Oh man.
There was a Viscountess called Red.
Uh-oh, no, that's a different one. Karen, wrong poem. Karen is a very talented verse writer.
We're back again.
There
Yay.
she is. Hi, Oonagh. Oh, she's moving very gingerly, like she is, if she moves her computer too fast, she'll lose her internet connection again.
Hello.
Hi. Are we getting a tour of your house?
Okay, what kind of? I guess this is our boxes. We got a lot of boxes.
Very nice.
My computer battery is plugged in, but I guess it's not a live port that I was plugged into.
Oh.
You know, it's a new house, so
Yep.
so hang on a second.
Well, I was
sorry about
trying to-
that.
I was talking with to Karen, Duchess Karen, hoping that she might drop a limerick on us in the comments, but she said I put her on the spot. So sorry, Karen, but maybe if you think of something Oonagh specific and can just do it another time, that would be lovely. So all we were doing was winding up anyway.
I know, I'm so embarrassed.
But is there, no, don't be embarrassed. Was there anything else that you would like to talk about before we get to our final question?
The final, the speed round.
Yes, Final Jeopardy.
So what is the next event that you guys are going to that would be an inter-kingdom event that I get to see you guys at?
That's a really good question. Event, I mean, going to any event seems pretty far-fetched for me. I'm going to be in grad
I'm thinking
school.
next year, 2022.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I'm
I'll
in
be going
grad
to-
school all next summer too, so we'll see. I don't know,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Maybe.
okay.
I don't know.
Maybe Sport of Kings.
Yeah, really.
Davey. At this point, we don't have any plan as a kingdom as far as events go, so it's hard to answer that.
And the Canadian border is still pretty much closed and will
Oh,
be
is it?
through
Okay.
the end
Oh,
of July. I
That's a
think.
bummer.
Yeah. So it's really tough to move forward with plans when you know, our king and queen live in Canada. We, you know, officers, royalty, nobody can move around the kingdom, and so
Yeah.
holding a kingdom event becomes, you know, there's just tons of barriers to participation. So yeah.
But that does not preclude individuals from going to events. And I think, you know, we just all got fully vaccinated. And I think that for me personally, I'm still trying to wrap my head around being in public spaces and being around people.
Yeah.
I had Karen over this morning and she was in my house and I had to tell her it was freaking me out a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah. This is
I just attended my first public event unmasked this weekend. It's legal.
do
I'm
it.
vaccinated.
yeah, do
but
it, Bill.
I know, but I've been very cautious, and I still keep my distance from people. And are you crying? Oh, okay. I thought you were crying. Sorry. But I, you know, like if I go into a store and I see that the staff are wearing masks, I will continue to wear my mask. If I go in the store and I see anybody wearing a mask, I'm still wearing the mask because I just want to be respectful to people who aren't yet vaccinated, or to the service workers who are exposed to people who aren't vaccinated, you know, on a daily basis. And I want to help keep them safe.
Yeah, and
So.
I think we can all just, in terms of an SCA context, post-pandemic, take more personal responsibility for the health that we bring to events, and to be more mindful about going to events, attending events where when we might be sick, that whole 12th night crud thing. That
Oh
needs to
gosh,
stop, you guys.
please stop doing that.
If you're sick at a 12th night and you feel like you absolutely have to be there, you get to wear a mask now. Please.
Yeah,
do
please
that.
do.
Because we need to normalize that, basically.
If we can open up an opportunity for people to, there's been some conversation about having virtual court, and maybe that's not such a great idea, but having some virtual access to something like that, then it would allow people who feel like they want that community but need the out to be able to attend in some capacity without making everybody else sick. So
it goes back to someone's preferences or discomfort with something does not, to me, override being able to provide and make more accessible, an SCA of some kind to other people. If someone's like, well, I don't really want court to be broadcast, or recorded, or I don't want people to have cameras out because it ruins the ambiance. And I'm like, yeah, but other people don't get to play at all. Can't we figure out a way to play with this so that both everybody has some of their needs met, but that we're keeping an eye on making it as accessible as possible to the most people?
And honestly, that just sort of feels like a bullshit argument because we're in a hotel ballroom in
for 12th night for sure. Yeah.
Chairs, that's not.
Yeah.
the only, so I do agree with you. The only one thing that somebody brought up that I was like, okay, maybe, is the buffet, and that could be misperceived by somebody outside of the SCA. This is something that we invite, but
maybe that's another conversation about where the buffet should be taking place. Maybe it should be taking place at the vigil, not at the court. So, I mean, there's a lot of things like we can change our culture in ways that might feel like a big deal, but in the grand scheme of things, it's more about, is this the right time and place, as opposed to, maybe we just have to think about people, with more compassion, put the compassion ahead of our traditions and customs and culture and made up fancy dress cocktail party in a cow pasture. So it's not.
What? I call it camping with funny clothes on. So
yeah, pretty much the same thing. So
Thorfinn says he's seen cool wood boxes to hide cameras, and it reminded me at last Sport of Kings, Sir Helgi from Kaid, not your Sir Helgi, had like a GoPro on a, what is it called? It's a stick, but with like an eagle thing on it.
Okay.
Like almost like a Roman standard thing.
Yeah.
And you couldn't even see the camera, but that was his camera, and he had some remote control or something, and he just stood by the field with this thing, and it looked totally like a.
And what? So he used some sort of arts and sciences to create something that brought something beautiful and still allowed us to live in an anachronistic sort of lifestyle. What?
And I do, like, I'm sure there are people for whom there are privacy concerns, but I think broadcasting court and just making sure people know that area of the court is going to have a camera on it, just like people with actual cameras that are taking still pictures, that we just need to make sure that people are aware of this. That's very different from, do you remember Ashaxi, the event where somebody wanted to fly a drone over the whole event? I just about lost my mind at that because it wasn't an SCA person. And I'm like, what are they going to use this for? Yeah. Why are we being asked to go along with this? There's not an explanation of why. We don't know this person. They're not in the SCA. We don't have like any kind of, there's no hub of trust with someone who comes and does that. And
exactly.
That in our encampments, we're in our homes, and we expect a certain level of privacy and a certain level of comfort, and not having to be on stage when we're in our own encampment.
Right. Yeah. And that's very different. Of course. So,
No.
I think post-pandemic, we're going to have a lot of things to talk about, you know.
I think it's offered us the opportunity to do a reset, like you said, on some of our traditions and stuff. You know, why have we been doing that? I always love this story about, Mom, how come you cut the ends off the roast?
Right.
I don't know. I've been doing it because Grandma does it. Let's go ask Grandma. And you know,
Yeah.
it's because that's what made it fit in the pan.
Right.
Why are we doing some of the things that we do? Are there ways that we can do it to include everybody else?
That's right.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, of course. We all agree with each other. This is a passionate discussion about things we agree about. So welcome to Grace Under Pressure, your weekly broadcast where people passionately agree with each other. So, okay, so we're going to close this up. And I'm at a bit of an advantage this week over a lot of our other interviews because I know you. However, we haven't spent time close together in quite some time.
A long time.
So we give you a virtual gift basket that can have anything in the world in it because it's virtual. So that means the sky's the limit. And so normally I would ask, like, what kind of wine do you drink? What kind of chocolate do you like? Do you like puppies or kittens? That kind of stuff. But I'm going to throw all that out because I happen to know that if you're going to eat chocolate, it has to be dairy free. So that's easily done. There's beautiful chocolates out there, but a milk chocolate's not going to work for you. So I already know the answer to that one.
Generally, it has to be expensive, but that's not because I try to be expensive. It's because that's
okay.
The safest.
This is a virtual gift basket, right?
Well, thank you.
That's right. So, and then in terms of some kind of alcohol, I think I would probably not do that either. I think I would probably go with something else for you, you know? I'm trying to think, like, what would I get for you?
The alcohol with some 3D printed T-Rex arms that fit your chickens so that you can give your chickens little T-Rex arms.
There you go. See, that's way better because you're in wine country. There is nothing we could give to you that would be, you can just go buy it for a song at the, you know, your neighborhood wine country winery, whatever. So so you can do with that. So the other thing though that we would give you is something that was actually gifted to me once, which was I was once given a whole book of limericks written by a whole bunch of different people from the West Kingdom to celebrate one of my reigns. And I think that's what we would do. We would have, and there would be like a G-rated section and a not G-rated section. And
I would love that.
The first entry would be from Duchess Karen, who did drop one into the comments. So I'm going to read this to you from Karen. Our Oonagh is gracious, I say, embodies the word every day. Viscountess and Laurel, but oh, will I quarrel? Her power is grace all the way.
Aww.
That would
Thank
go
you, Karen.
the G-rated.
The G one. Yeah.
So that I think would be super fun to make sure you have some love, and it kind of makes me want to send you some other limericks now. So we'll take care of that too. So the T-Rex arms, some great dark chocolate, and a book of limericks written in your honor. Okay.
Thank you.
So and probably a bunch of other stuff that I would just find, and I'd be like, ooh, I think Oonagh would like that. I think Oonagh would like that. So
maybe some locally produced vellum, and maybe some real gold leaf, since price is not an object right now.
Is dachshund vellum a thing? Because I get pretty upset at him sometimes, and I threaten to do all kinds of things to the dachshund, and he does not listen. But maybe if I showed him some dachshund vellum,
maybe that would help. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not that I'm aware of.
Be very long.
That'd be a really small artifact that you would create.
It would be long and narrow. It would be, like.
Oh, you could do it Japanese style. So this.
There you go. There you go. I'll just start dropping hints about that around.
Okay.
Next time he refuses to go outside because there's like 3 raindrops on the grass. Not that it's a problem right now for anyone listening who doesn't live where any of us are. It is hot as blazes. Seattle, people don't always have air conditioning in Seattle. So when it gets like over about 85 degrees here, people start to suffer. We're not used to it. And I know it is quite a lot hotter where you are. Is that true, Oonagh?
I think today it was mid 80s,
Okay,
maybe
so not
high.
too bad.
Not too
Yeah.
bad. No, last week was pretty bad, but it was in the
Okay.
hundreds.
Well, I hope I will send fervent thoughts of no fires where you are this year.
Thank you.
We will think a lot about you, and same with Ontario. We'll think a lot about our neighbors in areas that are more fire prone. And congratulations on making it this far through the pandemic, both of you. Join us next time for our interview with Her Majesty of the Mid-Realm, Madalena, who
Oh, wow.
I think we started talking with her about doing this before she was Her Majesty. So, you know, she's sneaking in there. And that should be really fun. So like I said, we are going to be winding down these interviews. So we'll see if anybody else ends up getting onto our schedule between now and when I start student teaching, which is at the end of the summer. That's really my hard deadline. So thank you, Oonagh. We love you so much, and I miss you.
Thank you, ladies.
And it's lovely to see your face. And thanks for your time this evening. And thanks to Shaxi for your time as well.
And thank you.
Thank you both.
Wear your masks
Thank
when
you.
you need to. Get your
Oh,
vaccinations
always.
if you haven't already. Remember, children under 12 are not vaccinated yet. So
Do your best to protect them.
yeah, and especially since the Delta variant seems to have younger people in its crosshairs. So be really conscientious about that, and believe in science. I don't know all the other stuff that Joel says. Oh, renew your membership. And we love you all.
And we hope to
Thank
see you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.